A public rally dubbed Maha Jana Handa, organised by several opposition parties, was scheduled to be held at the Ananda Samarakon Open Air Theatre in Nugegoda from 2 p.m. today. Taking the ongoing 2025 advanced level examination into consideration, the Derana police initiated efforts to curb the use of loudspeakers between 8:30 am to 11:40 am and from 2 pm to 5 pm today. Accordingly, through a statement, the police advised the rally's organisers to be mindful in this regard and to comply with regulations on the use of loudspeakers at the particular time slots when exams are scheduled to take place. The police also advised those taking part in the rally to only use the speakers at the venue of the rally. The statement further went on to urge those taking part in the rally to not disturb students commuting to and from examination centres. Accordingly, measures were taken to remove all loudspeakers fixed outside the Ananda Samarakon Open Air Theatre. In the meantime, large crowds from across the island arrived in Colombo this morning to take part in the opposition's rally. In defiance of the rally, however, foliage and weeds were hung on either side of the road leading up to the Ananda Samarakon Open Air Theatre, allegedly by groups opposed to the rally.
කියන ආණ්ඩුව පාර හදන ආණ්ඩුව රට නොබෙදන ආණ්ඩුව ඔබ මන්ත්‍රීතුමාට
The Maha Jana Handa public rally commenced once crowds reached Nugegoda. Representatives of the Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna, the Sri Lanka Freedom Party and the United National Party were present at the rally. However, the Samagi Jana Balawegaya, the Sarva Jana Balaya as well as the National Freedom Front were notably absent at the rally.
We declare to the government that we are not afraid of those laundering the NPP's image on social media. These professional image launderers are funded out of Palavatta. We cannot reiterate the slogans touted by this government before assuming power. We can, however, assert that this government's deceptions have suppressed an entire generation.
Should we not remind the government of their misleading pre-election promises? The government, which came to power with 6.8 million votes behind their backs, supported by religious leaders, doctors, teachers, farmers and workers, is now in shambles. They appointed Pradesh Sabha chairman while misleading the public. In many local government jurisdictions, the ruling party lost the budget vote at the first reading itself. Their support keeps dwindling from 50% to 90%. This stage was not set up to create leaders. However, when the circumstances call for it, we will elect the next president to office. We don't need political parties for this purpose. If President Disanayake reads his budget speech for an hour, he will dedicate the next hour to bash Namal Rajapaksa. If Namal was in the chamber of parliament at the time the budget was being read, the speech would have gone until 10 p.m. I wonder if the president is aware that the GC advanced level examinations are taking place in Tangol as well. There are 3 schools near the Tangol public stadium: the Tangol Mahavidyalaya, the Tangol Primary School and the Rahula Mahavidyalaya. Yet the speakers used for President Disanayake's event in Tangol were not removed, while attempts were made to remove the speakers at our event. We advise the president to not engage in politics this way. We call on the authorities to dedicate 10 more police officers to probe Namal Rajapaksa's educational qualifications. Similar probes must also be conducted on top government MPs, since Ananda Vijaypala was never a police officer and Sunil Watagala has never argued a matter in court. Neither has the Minister of Health ever prescribed medicine. There are others suffering a similar predicament. Speaking in Parliament, the President claimed that the government will be re-elected in 2028. We remind the President that the rain doesn't always follow the thunder. However, the thunder will always precede the rain. The roar of the people gathered here is the thunder before the rain. While the president visited Japan, a certain someone claimed that we will all be loaded up onto a blue prison bus in the future. We urge the government to keep in mind that they will be sent home in red buses once we assume power. We are not the ones who destroyed the country in the last 76 years. That curse was cast by the JVP in 1965. We invite the Samagi Jana Balavegia with no strings attached to attend the next rally. We also assure you that many other parties will join us in the future. We will only rest after defeating this deceptive bunch who yearn for cabs while pretending to use public transport. We must take a moment to remember the legacy of Mahinda Rajapaksa. Mahinda Rajapaksa ended the 30-year civil war. Meanwhile, former President Ranil Wickremesinghe resolved our economic woes while many dropped dead in long queues. The incumbent government seized power through deception. Let's all unite to oust this incompetent regime from office. This is your moment. Seize it.
Lanka itihase kisima aanduwak
No government in history has ever been this afraid of an opposition rally. The government's internal calculus was that the SLFP and the Pivitulu Helaurumeya were not on good terms with the SLPP. They thought that the SLPP and the UNP have not been on good terms since 2024. They don't see an SJB-UNP unity anytime in the near future. They thought that these parties will remain enemies forever. Off the back of these political calculations, the government intended to fasten its grip on power through fraud and deceit. That was the government's dream. We have thrown a wrench in the government's works. This crowd gathered here affirms that this is the beginning of the incumbent government's end.
අපේ හාමුදුරුවෝට සමහරව අපෙන් අහනවා ඇයි මේ ඡන්දයක් නැතුව අපි එකතු වෙන්නේ කියලා. තවත් සමහරව අහනවා
Many asked us why we unite when there is no election in sight. Many ask us why we are in such a hurry. Even the government is questioned on what we intend to accomplish at this rally. We assure you this: our political movement is ready to gather at any moment necessary to fulfill the needs of the people and to give leadership to a people's struggle. The government has cast aside the promises they made to the public and has placed a hefty tax burden on the people. The leaders who walked into the paddy fields with the farmers before the elections are now in Colombo comfortably dressed in suit and tie. Meanwhile, the paddy farmers, potato farmers and the onion farmers are rendered helpless. When farmers yearn for a fertilizer subsidy, the government simply says to purchase fertilizer now and that subsidies will be provided later. The government need not tell us this. We already know that fertilizers are absolutely necessary. We urge the government not to interfere and make things worse for farmers. The government has a great responsibility to protect all farmers. A ship is not built merely to be anchored at the harbour permanently. Similarly, we developed this political movement to topple the government at the first instance possible. The president must be aware of this.
ඒ වගේම අපි ජන බලය ජන මතය ගොඩනගන්නේ ආණ්ඩුව පුළුවන් පළවෙනි අවස්ථාවේදී පෙරලන්නයි කියන එකත් අපි ජනාධිපතිතුමාට මතක් කරනවා.